Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. We're back for another one. This time, we're not reviewing a race. We're talking about some F1 news that has occurred quite recently. The 3 new tracks to the calendar. It's all happening. My name's Matthew Gallagher, and joining me once again, I was about to say in the commentary box. We have been in the commentary box, but it's not. We're in the virtual podcast box. It's Tom Bellingham.
Hello. It's been a while since we've done any commentary, but yeah.
Yeah, I kind of miss it. I kind of like the duo. It's really nice. But instead, we will not think about that. We will think about 3 amazing races that have been announced on the 2020 F1 calendar. As much as we've had such a torrid time with everything, and I hope everybody's still staying safe and well, and their families are well as well. It's, this is a very strange predicament that we find ourselves in with this Formula One calendar and the COVID situation where Formula One can't go around the world to where they want to, wherever. So we have to pick up a few new ones.
I know. Who could have imagined the tracks that we'd be racing on this year? It's so unexpected. Because even when there was all the talk about, they might have to go to a few tracks off the calendar. I don't know if you're the same, but I was like, yeah, no way that's happening. Yeah, absolutely not. I didn't believe it for a second, but amazing. We've had 4 now.
It's amazing how quickly they can find tracks that will be willing and suitable to host a Formula One race. I don't know if F1 fans watching and listening to this feel the same as I did, but I always felt like there would be some restrictions or some reason why we couldn't go back to Imola or whatever. But it seems as though the turnaround has been rather quick, it has to be said, because some tracks, probably weren't ready to host an F1 race, and they've had to get their shit together.
It all comes down to grade 1, as it's called, on the FIA list. So to host a Formula One race, you have to be FIA grade 1 circuit, which obviously all these are. Every single track on the calendar is FIA grade 1, and also there are a few others that don't host Formula One races, like these ones, and also a few others. And yeah, that's the reason, I guess, why they've been able to turn it around so quickly, because I guess they don't have the problem with fans being at the track, and they need to open like access and all that kind of stuff. Although there is talk that there might be fans at the last couple, so that would be quite interesting.
You can sign me up to those if it is opened up. I do fancy a bit of travelling, if possible, to go to a Formula One race, even if it's just for fun, even if it's not even for work, which is weird to say, isn't it? As much as, people would be like, cry me a river, but I can't remember the last time I actually just went to just have fun rather than trying to do something for WTF1 or whatever. Obviously, it's still fun, but I'm definitely down to see what happens towards the end of this year. So let's talk about the first one, Nurburgring, 9th to the 11th of October. Now, we need to basically tell people that it's not the entire Nurburgring Nordschleife circuit, which I know a lot of people were getting quite excited about, because, fair enough, if you're new to Formula One, you probably wouldn't know about the Nurburgring GP circuit that we've seen a few races on. Although, to be fair, it wasn't that long ago that we raced around Nurburgring, right?
2013, I believe, was the last F1 race at Nurburgring. So it doesn't feel like that long ago, but then I have to remind myself with all these things that it's 7 years ago.
It's mad, isn't it?
And a lot of people have maybe only been watching, even in the last couple of years, never mind 7 years ago. So yeah, it's a crazy one, but yeah, not the full one. That would be a bit mad, and it's definitely not FIA grade 1.
No. The amount of bumps and changes in elevation, it absolutely not happen. But Nürburgring still, as a GP circuit, is pretty good, I would say. It's probably not my favourite, and when they were alternating, that's the word, between Hockenheim and Nürburgring back around that 2013, around 2010 era, I always preferred Hockenheim over Nürburgring personally. What about you, Tommy?
Yeah, the same. I think the Hockenheim ring, the new one, obviously people, classic F1 fans, love to say they butchered that Hockenheim ring, the old one in the forest, which was an incredible racetrack. But I actually did really like the Hockenheim ring that they did the change. There's a lot of great overtaking spots there. Nürburgring GP circuit, I do actually really like that one as well. Like, I think it's going to be a good track for Formula One. I don't think it's as badly suited to modern F1 as a lot of people seem to think. But I think it's going to be a decent race, and it's always interesting to kind of throw a curveball like this and race at a track we don't expect, and hopefully some good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a couple of good overtaking opportunities into the last chicane, and then also into turn one as well. A lot of the rest of it, you'd probably say, is decently single file, apart from maybe that kind of long hairpin in the middle sector before you go up the hill towards the Schumacher S's, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nurburgring's not like they've announced Monaco for 10 races. That would have been quite saddening. Even you would take 10 races around Monaco?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Okay, good.
I think I've said many times the reason I like Monaco is for the uniqueness, and one is plenty.
Okay, perfect. I'll allow that then. At F1_Amy says, how do we think the safety will be, especially with the Nürburgring? Now, I think that Amy is also referring to the full Nordschleife. Yeah, that's not happening. But Nürburgring, as we've already mentioned, has already hosted Formula One races, so the safety will be completely fine, and it's a Grade 1 circuit, and I don't think that they'd have to have changed much, if anything, to allow Formula One to go back.
No, not at all. If it's Grade 1, you can host it. Simple as that. So that's what we'll go into Imola later, but that's what Imola have done. They used to be a Grade 2 circuit, and they upgraded. A lot of circuits have kind of they want that Grade 1 status, and that's what they need to be able to host a Formula One race. So there are no issues with safety at all for Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. It's all good.
All good. At James Bruton 74, could holding a race at the Nürburgring in October lead to a complete washout of a race weekend? Absolutely. I mean, it's Europe, so yeah, you never know what could happen in October as well. That's something we never see, is a European race that late into towards winter, isn't it? It's crazy to think that we've got a European race then, because I think even if it doesn't rain, it will be cold, and we don't usually see very cold races. I can't remember the last time the air temperature would be below 10, maybe. I'm sure you probably don't have that fact to heart, Tommy, but we don't have that. The only time we've ever seen something like that was when they went testing in Spain and it snowed.
It's got its own microclimate, I guess. Nürburgring that won't seem to have the same problems in Italy and Portugal, but when I did see that they were hosting a race in Germany when was it? Sorry, start of October. Yeah. I mean, that's a brave call, because Spa, for example, this actually blew my mind when I worked in the WC 4 or 5 years ago now. I had no idea, because I'd not really looked at it on a map, and I drove to the Nürburgring for work, and it's only like 2 hours away from Spa. So it's that close to Spa, and we all know what Spa's like with its weather. It's got its own like microclimate. They always love to say that cliche, don't they, at Spa? And Nürburgring is the same. It could be, like you say, I wouldn't even be surprised if it snowed. You never know. And especially the way 2020 is going, you wouldn't put it past it, would you?
No, you wouldn't. At Beth1, I think we've kind of mentioned this, but I'll read the question out anyway. Has someone who's never watched any races there or has any idea of the track layout, what should we be looking out for? Where will the overtakes be? What would be deemed a risky place to overtake? I think turn one is obviously a really good opportunity to overtake, but also is quite risky with how the camber changes in the corner, and it's downhill, and then you go back uphill towards turn two, which then, it's quite a difficult set of corners, I'd say, to get right. But in these modern F1 cars, I'm sure they'll manage just fine. And then you go round turn 2, 3, 4, very much single file. Then you kind of go up. I'm kind of just having a mental lap now.
Yeah,
have a small straight, don't you? Then to the left, right.
Yeah,
and then you go down the hill to the slightly.
Hairpin. I think that's a bit of a stretch, that hairpin, to get an overtake done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would have to be an absolute kind of Leroy Jenkins Banzai move to try and get that done. I can't see that happening, but yeah, turn one definitely is the place. But then there's also, like say, after the hairpin, you've got like another left, right, and then you've got that long straight that goes into like a right hand turn, very like quick right hand turn, and then some people like to overtake into the chicane. I imagine that's where the two DRS zones are going to be. I would be very surprised if it wasn't that long straight before the chicane and also the pit straight.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's really any other place that they could have even like a triple DRS. Because you never know. We don't know, have we? We haven't been there for so long. They could easily change it and allow for more DRS zones. We've seen 3 already in previous races. So don't put it past them, because I'd say they could fit it in if they tried, but I don't think it. I think 2 is definitely probably the most likely. We interrupt this WTF1 podcast for a very quick chat about our sponsor for this episode, ExpressVPN. Now, when you're searching online, you may think that going into incognito mode will protect all of your data. Well, let me tell you something. Incognito mode does not hide your activity. It doesn't matter what mode you use or how many times you clear your browsing history, your internet service provider can still see every single website you've ever visited. That's why, even when I'm at home, I never go online without using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your ISP can't see the sites you visit. ExpressVPN also keeps all of your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available. Most of the time, I don't even realise I have ExpressVPN on. It runs seamlessly in the background and is so easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected. ExpressVPN is available on all of your devices, phones, computers, and even your smart TV, so there's no excuse for you not to be using it. Protect your online activity today with the VPN rated #1 by CNET and Wired. Visit our exclusive link, expressvpn.com/WTF1, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/WTF1. Now, back to the podcast. So moving on to our next edition, which is Portimao. I think that's how you say it. Portimao. Portimao.
I've been saying Portimao. I've never heard it said out loud. I don't
Portimao.
think. So I'm hoping that's right.
Portimao.
That's what I've been saying. So yeah,
okay.
You said the same. We'll go with that. So I assume we've heard it somewhere.
Now, I don't know a huge amount about this track. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think anybody really knows a huge amount. I've had a quick look at the lap around it, and
you mean you don't watch the European Le Mans series, Matthew?
No, I don't. Quite happily will say that I'm a Formula 1 fanboy, and that's it. But what was quite noticeable for me was the most ridiculous elevation change down towards turn 1, where it looks like it's almost like a roller coaster. There was a GP2 race, wasn't there, that raced there?
2009.
2009, so still 11 years ago. Madness. But yeah, it's still a track that I think is quite exciting, especially because we've never been there before. We can't really judge it until we go.
Exactly, and boy, is it wide. I don't know if you noticed that from the GP2 race that F1 shared a clip of, didn't they?
Thick boy with 2 Cs.
It is. It's. I mean, that was the GP2 cars that were a little bit thinner than the Formula 1 cars, but even with the wide Formula 1 cars we've got now, you're still talking like maybe 4 cars wide. I wouldn't know exact, but it's a definitely a very wide pit straight. Reminds me of Sepang a little bit with how wide the track is, and the first turn's a weird one because it slopes downhill, kind of in a reverse coater, if you like. Very strange though. They've actually changed. There is a layout, and the one that they did use in 2009 for the GP2 was a chicane into the first corner, which kind of turns back on itself. And while it's a bit of a clumsy chicane, it means that there's a heavier braking zone into turn 1. Now, they've not done that, I believe, from the track map that they've shared on F1. So it'd be interesting to see how quickly they're going into that turn. It might be a case of passing before the braking zone with DRS than a kind of lock-up lunge into turn 1.
Okay. At I Forgot My Name 56 says, am I the only one who is quite anxious with racing in Portimao due to the track characteristics being fairly similar to Catalonia and more elevation changes? What would you say to that, Tommy, as I look up the track map?
People have been quick to notice that it looks like a kind of can I copy your homework version of Catalonia.
Yeah.
With the whole if you imagine Catalonia, it looks like a kind of person with strong arms flexing, and there's kind of Estoril was the same, which hosted the Portuguese Grand Prix back in '96 was the last one. So that was the last Portuguese Grand Prix. That was very similar as well. But for me, I don't personally share the same concerns, because the thing that's always bugged me the most about Catalonia is,
Chicane.
we mention it every podcast, that bloody chicane.
And there
is
isn't
the
one.
worst thing. And there isn't one. It's a swooping downhill right-hander. They're going to probably have DRS or at least get into the slipstream. So they've got all that time swooping down that right-hand hill to prepare to get close. And then they'll have an entire straight, which we mentioned earlier is about 4 cars wide. I don't think we're going to have anywhere near as many problems, touch wood.
Well, to be fair, when you look at the track, I think we're going to have a pretty good race, because as you say, it's a better Catalonia, to be honest, when I look at it, because the last chicane has always been the problem, because they could never get close enough into turn 1, whereas, as you say, they have to wind up for much longer. They go through a long right-hander into then more of a right-hander, and they've got the whole of that pretty much flat, I would imagine. Then you'd have DRS down the main straight. You'd have DRS again as you come back on ourselves on maybe turn 4.
And then there's a big hairpin for that after turn 4 or 5, can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
I imagine that's going to be DRS as well.
Turn
And then
5,
there's a tasty little braking zone hairpin that I imagine is going to be a little bit longer than the one in the final sector of Catalonia. So you might see even more overtaking there. So yeah, I personally don't believe that it's going to be anywhere near as problematic as Catalonia. And I'm hoping that it's a very good race to the point where it maybe even kicks Catalonia off the track, because I'm not a big fan.
That is another question, though, isn't it? That these tracks are finally getting a chance to be thrust into the Formula One spotlight. Could we see, post this whole pandemic situation, some of these tracks actually being brought on full time?
Indeed, I think it is the very next question.
Is it? I haven't even looked. That's incredible. Here we go. At Paulie_Walnuts. Why were these tracks not considered for a regular season race? They are obviously up to F1 standards. I know you're going to say money, but maybe we need to rotate tracks for the regular season. Money. It's all down to, they have to assess loads of things, don't they? Like selling tickets, and sponsors and the circuit, because the circuit has to pay a huge amount of money anyway to host Formula One races, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not like Formula One pay the circuits to use them. It's the other way around. So the circuit has to weigh up whether it's even possible. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Tommy, with Nurburgring, I think. Oh no, it was Imola. I think we mentioned very quickly, was the fact that they don't have to think about the fans side of things. And can they accommodate 100,000 people on a normal race weekend?
Exactly. I mean, we saw what happened with Paul Ricard. They had a track. I mean, suited. I'll use the term suited for F1 loosely, because it's a grade 1 for Formula One, shall I say. And the very first race there, you had people queuing so long to get into the track that they couldn't get in even in time for free practice 2. So that is something that has to be considered with these things. And I guess this year they don't have that worry.
Yeah, there's lots of things to take into consideration, because, as you say, you don't want to have another Paul Ricard where it was a complete and utter mess. Like, they can't have that happen, because then they issued refunds, didn't they? As far as I'm aware,
I believe so. Yeah, because it was beyond
ridiculous.
Farcical. Yeah,
it was not really like, if you left earlier, you would have got in. You literally would have had to camp outside in order to get in before the session started. So. Lots of things to consider. I would love to see some of these tracks stay, especially Imola. I'm so excited for that. We'll get onto that shortly.
I think swapping as well is a great idea. I didn't even actually think about it until you mentioned the Germany thing, where they used to alternate between Hockenheim and Nurburgring. I think that was quite good, because you
keeps it fresh.
Yeah, it keeps it fresh. And at the end of the day, there are contracts, and that will always be the issue. But if there was a way to make this happen, personally, I wouldn't mind Portimao 1 year replacing Catalonia, or Abu Dhabi gets mixed up with Dubai or something like that. Do you know, like, mixing up tracks would be exciting, because you've seen the reaction online. Like, everyone's buzzing about these races to see new tracks in Formula One.
Indeed. Whether that in Formula One's eyes would turn into more money is another question, and that's always what it comes down to. Unfortunately, us fans, we're not number one. It's whether or not we'll actually spend money is the big question. The final question on Portimao is at _Habro. Which of the tracks will produce the best race in terms of overtaking and wheel-to-wheel battles and maybe safety cars? For me personally, I think Nurburgring most likely, Portimao potentially, but between these three that we're going to be talking about, Imola's the final one. I don't see Imola being an absolute stunner. I think it's more down the Monaco route of we're back.
Yeah, it's very. I imagine I can see Imola playing out very similar to how Zandvoort was going to play out, where the track is absolutely awesome. Everyone wants to see it. It's a proper driver's circuit. Might not produce the best overtaking, but depending on who you are and why you kind of watch F1 and what you like about Formula One, might not be for everyone. But I'd say Portimao has a very good chance that we could see a good race here because it'll be unknown. The teams won't have really raced there before, not even in testing or anything. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they set up the changes in the elevations. Really exciting, and then just the fact that it's a wide boy is going to make it a
wide boy indeed.
Exciting race, I think. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think if this does well, I do hope that it gets considered for the calendar in the future because it looks like a good one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think Nürburgring still will be better just purely because I think we'll have changeable conditions and that should hopefully provide with some amazing racing as long as it doesn't get washed out. That's the next problem we'll probably have on our list. Finally, Imola is the third and final track that we're talking about today, 31st of October to the 1st of November. So those keen mathematicians out there will notice that is 2 days, not 3. So the actual schedule for that hasn't been announced. We don't know exactly what they're going to be doing. Are they just going to be doing more running over 2 days, or are they going to be just getting rid of FP1 and FP2? Fingers crossed. But
hopefully,
yeah. I mean, for your wet dream, it definitely would be be the case, wouldn't it? I am Iron Man 17. Will it be strange for the drivers to race at Imola knowing it's past? I don't personally think it would be. Obviously, there is a lot of history with Imola. I think a lot of the drivers will find it very cool indeed because it's always going to have that history. And for me anyway, 28-year-old man, I used to race on the games there, and I think that it would mean more to the drivers to race around there.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of this is due to the whole Senna Ratzenberger thing as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we've sadly lost many drivers at different circuits, and we had Hubert at Spa, Bianchi at Suzuka, and I guess the thing with Imola is it will always be so well known because it was the darkest weekend in F1 history. But it is one of those tracks. They've made changes, and it is one of those tracks that drivers adore. Like you saw, I think it was Esteban Ocon potentially on Instagram, and I think George Russell retweeted the tweet from F1 and was like, yes, Imola's back. That's the one that all the drivers are really keen to race at because it's a proper drivers spectacle.
Yeah,
amazing
absolutely.
track.
At Tom McCluskey, Tom McCluskey, I can't speak today. Obviously known as Tomo F1. How has Imola as a circuit evolved from a safety point of view since that weekend in 1994 that took Ayrton and Roland's lives? Tommy, I'm hoping you have the answer to that because I don't know the specifics.
I do. So 1994, obviously the Tamburello corner where Senna lost his life was a flat left-hander that they were taking at 200 miles an hour. And then the next right-hander was also flat. And that's where Ratzenberger sadly crashed and died as well. And then you go into Tosa, which is the slow left-hander. Now, immediately after 1994, they changed the circuit to have the chicane. So the first corner is like a fast sweeping chicane, and then you go down a straight, back into another chicane, and then through Tosa. So you don't have, they changed that immediately in 95, but also, which I notice F1 are showing a lot of clips from 2006 and the onboards. And I guess if people haven't watched any racing at Imola since then, they may not know this, but it's also changed since then. So in 2008, we were mentioning earlier about the FIA Grade 1 circuits.
Yeah.
That needs to be, to be an FIA Grade 1 circuit, they had to update the pit lane. So they changed the pit straight. And now, rather than that final chicane, which will all, you've seen the many clips of Alonso and Schumi go, that amazing battle that they had into that final chicane, that's no longer there. That's just a straight on. So they're just going straight all the way from that double left-hander, and then just going straight on all the way to that first chicane. So there's a big long straight now as well, which hopefully means a bit more overtaking than we had back in 2006.
Yes, fingers crossed. Kyle McIver 96 says, are you slightly worried that some of the corners of the past will become flat out for these cars, especially that Merc, considering it was the only thing taking Hungary turn 11 flat? I mean, I don't really know where you're looking at in terms of the circuit map where the Mercedes is going to have a huge advantage, to be honest, because unless you're taking turn 8 flat, which is quite frankly ridiculous, I don't really see where, as you go into Acqua Minerale, I don't know, there's a slight right kink there, but you'd imagine most cars will be taking it flat. I don't see a particular section of the corner, at least track, for me personally, where the Mercedes could possibly have such an advantage where they can take something flat.
Mercedes just quick everywhere, aren't they? Let's be honest, this year. I mean, they've won the two races that are almost polar opposite to each other in terms of flat out straight line speed and the kind of twisty Monaco-like track. So I guess the main thing is that people don't think these new tracks are maybe suited to modern F1 because corners aren't corners anymore. But you did mention Acqua Minerale. I think that's the thing I'm most looking forward to in the entire F1 season is watching cars go back through there, because that kind of quick right-hander into a slower right-hander is probably my favorite corner in the world. So I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to watching modern F1 cars take that. And also, you mentioned about it being flat like it's a bad thing. I mean, that Mercedes going flat through turn 11 was pretty spectacular to watch.
Epic, wasn't it? I guess it's more on a competitive standpoint. Yeah. But then, what can we do? They've made an amazing car this year that just kind of accept it and enjoy the flying laps that car's able to produce, because that's all we've really got. But I'm completely on the same standpoint of Acqua Minerale being a really interesting corner to watch, and I'm going to be very fascinated to see how the cars take it differently and how the Red Bull in particular is going to manage around this sort of track where, they've been looking like they've been struggling so much around both Austria and Hungary. So, let's see if it's not going to be a dog around Imola. But either way, it's quite narrow, isn't it, Imola? So it's going to be quite difficult to overtake. It's not going to be the likes of Portimao where you can go back 9 wide.
No, it's overtaking wise, a lot of people want to know where you can overtake at Imola, and I think because they've changed that circuit and you kind of go straight on now instead of the final chicane, you're going to be looking at hopefully a DRS pass into turn 1 down the main straight, and that's about it. But I mean, it's not
going to be particularly. I think it's going to be a case of slipstream and past by the time they get down to turn 2, rather than. Because turn 1 is literally just a kink, isn't it? As far as I'm aware, it's not actually. It's like a rusher. At least that's what I'm looking at on the track map.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you get to turn 2, it's not a hairpin. It's not a massive breaking point. It's kind of a medium speed chicane, isn't it? So it could be interesting going into that, but I don't think we're going to see ridiculous lunges because there isn't really a place to do it unless somebody gets a little bit of a swapper out of Acqua Minerale down towards the next chicane. Or maybe down into 14, potentially, with the last couple of corners, the double left-hander, potentially, as you go down the hill. I'm just trying to maintain positivity.
I mean, I've mentioned this many times, and I'm really excited to see Imola. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's going to be the most exciting race in the world for new fans. And I do understand where people are coming from when they maybe don't like these kind of circuits. We said it at Zandvoort as well, didn't we? That it's probably not the greatest race for overtaking, but it's going to be a spectacle. And I'm really looking forward to seeing these modern F1 cars around there. But at the same time, I do appreciate that we might have to rely on a wet race or maybe some tyre strategy, which we'll go into later, like you say, about the two-day weekend. That might not be as straightforward as we think.
Later, we'll get into it right now, actually, Tommy, at M_DCRO, DC Rodriguez says, with less practice at Imola, how is Pirelli going to make predictions for tyre degradation and pit windows? I imagine that's sarcastic, is it? Is that?
I hope
like
so.
A sarcastic question?
I hope so, because they don't need to, because we don't like that.
No. But I guess in terms of just generally teams rocking up and having to perform, it's going to be huge for them. If it's a 2-day F1 weekend, we have less practice running and they have no previous data to go by on these tyres.
Lovely.
It's going to be an absolute mess for a lot of the teams. And that's exactly what we want to see, isn't it? We don't want to know how it's all going to unfold. Like when we saw F2, for example, around Hungary, and in the sprint race, you'd never see anyone pit. But the winner was probably one of the only people not to pit. And that's because of the lack of data that they had about how the tyres were going to perform. So hopefully that will translate to Imola and Formula One. That's what I'm hoping, at least.
We've done it. I think it's now like there's probably a bingo thing in our podcast where every time we mention that free practice should go. But we do mention it all the time that Mercedes are probably going to win every race. So why not throw a curveball in and not let them spend 4 hours on a Friday, setting up their car to absolute perfection where they know exactly what lap they need to pit on, exactly what tyres they need to use, exactly the setup they need. It should... I can only hope that this race is an absolute banger and the FIA go, oh yeah, 2-day weekend's pretty cool.
Oh, they're not going to... Yeah, I mean, come on. It's less money again, so I highly doubt they'll then go, 2-day F1 weekends.
Although,
Perfect.
to be fair, there is talk that 2-day weekends is going to be the answer in terms of having a 25 race calendar that they want. So
just more running on those 2 days rather than spread over 3. Interesting. Interesting. Do we actually know what the reason is for the 2-day F1 weekend?
I have no idea.
No,
they've said it. They just kind of announced it, and now everyone's like, "Ooh, this is exciting."
I wonder why. I'd love to know the actual reason why.
I wonder if it is Ross Brawn, because you know how Ross Brawn was desperate to tinker with the formats and things a little bit, have reverse grids, and they've just gone, "We're not giving you an option. You're racing for this, and that's it."
Nice.
Maybe.
Shane Poth says, should these tracks stay for future seasons or be a one-time thing? We've kind of already mentioned that, but it would be nice for them to interchange, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't... one thing that we haven't actually mentioned, I don't know if... I didn't really see that much talk of it, and maybe it's because we want positivity. But this announcement kind of overshadowed the fact that we aren't going to be racing in the Americas this season. So they've already announced that the 4 races have been cancelled. So no Interlagos, which is
very sad.
Very sad. And while I'm absolutely loving this calendar, for me personally, I don't think we need 3 races in Italy a year. Like, it should be a world championship. We should be racing at different tracks. I'm absolutely loving that we've had this mixed up calendar. But yeah, let's maybe, in a perfect world, I'd love it mixed up every year, but we still go to races all over the world.
Agreed.
Like Interlagos and stuff. So.
Yeah, completely agree. Because fans got to see the Formula One cars in action. Italy can't have it all. The 1 year that we have 3 races in Italy, Ferrari are rubbish.
Oh, they're going to get embarrassed 3 times.
It's just the way, isn't it? Unfortunately. Other circuits. Diana_RE says, which other circuits would you like to see, or would you like to be added to the race calendar? The only one that comes to mind for me is Turkey, but that's not that's not ready.
That's a car park now, I believe. I think it's a used car dealership now. I genuinely believe that is the case.
What about you, Tommy?
I've got some exciting news, a rumour.
Exciting news or a rumour?
Rumour. Well, from the rumours that that have been going around, is the next triple header after this one maybe 2 races at Vietnam and then Sepang. And I absolutely love Sepang and really need it back. So, yes, please.
Just make sure the drain covers are nailed down this time.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome. Love Malaysia.
I would love Malaysia to come back. So
not so sure about 2 races at Vietnam, but hey, we can't complain. We're not allowed to complain. We've got F1 back.
We'll see. We don't know about Vietnam yet, do we? So
no, but it would be lovely to see Malaysia back. It deserves to be on the calendar. And well, this crisis was the only way we would have seen Malaysia back on the calendar for quite some time, I imagine.
Yeah.
So
a strange thing that as well, we did a video, didn't we, about the ideal calendar. And in it you have to race in 3 different continents.
Yeah.
And so far we've only raced in Europe, so they're going to need to start racing around.
I wonder if that ruling's void this year.
It might be.
I imagine, a global pandemic probably is in the small print as things that they can kind of scrap the 3 continent rule. But
I mean, the only problem is racing in Europe until December might be an issue. They'll be running out of tracks and running out of kind of countries that won't be snowing. I was looking into Grade 1 circuits actually, and one of them that I didn't even realize was Grade 1 was one in Finland, and it's called the Kimi Ring. No word of a lie.
Well, now we need to go there, don't we? We absolutely need to go there.
In December.
Everybody's going to be on Google now.
December when it's icy and we have like a F1 race on spiked tires.
Red Bull would have that locked down, I think, because they've done so many things on ice that they would know exactly the car setup to run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to see Kimi Ring. Bring it. Let's do it. Grade 1 circuit. Not? Let's go. Yeah. Right. That is pretty much it, isn't it, Tommy? Unless you've got anything else to add.
No, it's all good. I'm hoping that I'm really hoping we do race at Sepang now, because that would be amazing.
And bring back Turkey, but unfortunately it's
the
car park. So sad times. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening. Wherever you are, make sure to give us a big fat 5 stars or a big fat thumbs up. We're actually in the top. Well, we're 37th, aren't we, on the Spotify playlists, Tommy? Last time you posted. Crazy. I don't know if that's gone up or down, but either way, thank you so much, everybody that continues to listen to this podcast and for some reason listen to myself and Tommy's opinions. Of course, make sure if you want to get involved in terms of any questions, follow us on Twitter, WTF1 Official, and use the hashtag WTF1 Podcast for any burning opinions or questions that you have. Also, make sure to check out ExpressVPN, our sponsor for this episode. And that is that. Thank you very much, Tommy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward. We've got 3 races to look forward to now.
Indeed, back to back. We'll have lots of race reviews coming your way and Internet's best reactions, of course. So look forward to that. And until next time, we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Tommy.
I'll wave at you again. Bye.
Bye. I'm actually seeing you tomorrow, aren't I? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, yeah. Can't wait.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is scenario number 7. 1, 2, 3 laps left. Lando Norris in the car, so come on, let's drift to the purple sector round the corner. The boys say to turn the power down, but I really don't wanna. Silverware like I had last week. I must overtake, cause points ain't cheap. I need DRS, ERS, a chest pain procedure. And as I continue, I'm breaking deeper. So what can I do? Perez is really slow, my lord. Danny, Rick, and Stroll are just down the road. Don't know the X2 lines to the song, so I'm just gonna go and talk like this. A little bit of Daniel going wide, a little bit of Lance Stroll side by side, a little bit of Perez is all I need, a little bit of P5 is what I see, a little bit of DRS in the sun, a little bit of ERS all straight long, a little bit of overtake, here I am, a little bit of woo makes me your star.
Hello. Oh, I'm loving this.